do the reading, the initial reading.
Let's start again because we were on mute. We apologize for that.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so sorry we were on mute, as Andreia mentioned. Today is a beautiful Sunday morning. And by the way, it's our last Sunday meeting of the year. We're going back on the January 3rd, 2021. The activities of the Spiritist group are going to, we have 1 week, but today is our last Sunday meeting of the year. I just want to remind each and every one that on the 22nd, December 22nd, we're going to have a work meeting, and it's open to each and every one that participate in this beautiful group that we call Conscience Living. Conscience family are going to reunite virtually through the website, through the computers, and please be welcome and to join us in this last meeting of our year.
Not just workers, right?
Not just workers. Everyone is, it's open to each and every one. So December 22nd, be very welcome to join us in our last meeting. So we're going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about like the possibilities for the future, many other things. So be very welcome to join us and to participate in this beautiful meeting.
7:30.
7:30, actually, yes.
PM.
PM, yes, please. 7:30 PM, December 22nd. For us to start our meeting, I would like to read a message from the gospel, from the book, Our Daily Bread. It's on chapter 60. This book was psychographed by the medium Francisco Cândido Xavier and was dictated by the Spirit Emmanuel. It's a beautiful book. And the chapter that we chose this morning is 60, The Logic of Providence. And there's one letter that Paul sent to the Hebrews in 10:32 that says, after you were illuminated, you endured a great struggle against affliction, Paul. And the comments that Emmanuel made for that specific letter that Paul sent to the Hebrews. Usually, those who cultivate a sincere faith are considered great sufferers in the world. In fact, there are those who affirm that they deliberately avoid from religious circles because they fear the contagion of spiritual suffering. In everyday life, the godless, the ignorant, and the frivolous exhibit themselves spectacularly through bizarre shades of outward fantasy. However, as they approach the heavenly truth before attaining access to the lasting joys of a higher spirituality, they pass through long tunnels of sadness, downheartedness, and taciturnity. This is natural, for there will always be much soul searching after insanity and remorse brought on by immoderation. The problem, however, entails a larger explanation. The mercy that is manifested in God's justice transcends human comprehension. The Father confers on his ignorant and lost children the right of more trying experiences only after they have been enlightened, only after they have learned to see with their eternal spirit will life offer them different values. From that moment on, the strength needed to triumph and the great battle of afflictions will be born in their hearts. In spite of their appearances, frivolous persons and opportunists are usually frail souls whose withered branches will break at the first blow of the storm. Noble spirits who are able to withstand the torments of the earthly pathway are well aware of this. Only spiritual enlightenment guarantees success in trials. No one entrusts the responsibility of a ship encumbered with preoccupations and dangers to mere children. With this initial reading bringing us a kind of awareness when we got illuminated by these messages, by these teachings that we are over 2,000 years neglecting, I would like to invite you to join us in this, our initial prayer. Dear Father above, thank you so much for us to have this possibility that technology brings us, connecting all of our souls, each and every one, in this worldwide net of fraternity and love. We know that we are so far distant from your gospel, from the messages that you left it to us, and still inviting us over 2,000 years ago. But we ask you to give us courage and strength to keep going towards the illumination that it makes so much necessary in our souls, so we can understand that life is beautiful and it's a gift of God, and we have the obligation, not because we are imposed, the obligation to be happy. And this happiness only are going to be achieved when the human creature, which is all of us, understand that only through love, only through compassion, only through forgiveness, we are going to achieve this great achievement that I would say it's the biggest achievement of humankind. Give us strength, give us force, give us courage to overcome not the world outside, but the world within, that it's still so lost by all of us. With these words, I would like to ask you the permission to invite our dear Andreia to deliver the results of her studies, their reflections on this beautiful Sunday morning today. So be it. Well, now I'm going to change on our technological studios, camera 2 to camera 1. I'll pass it on to Andreia so she can deliver the result of her reflection. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It is truly, truly wonderful to be connected with you today. It was a wonderful, wonderful start with the reading chosen by Marcelo and this heartfelt prayer that really opened up the space for reflection on the topic that was given to us to finish the year, the activities of the year of the Conscious Living Spiritist group. Our topic today, as you saw already, is It's Always Christmas. I'd like to show here the comment from our dear friend Susanna, who could not be with us this morning. And she expresses here her gratitude for this meeting, for all who have contributed throughout this whole year, to all who joined, to our beloved Master Jesus, and above all, God. We are so blessed, and indeed, we are very blessed. So we are going to start out our morning with this topic here, considering the importance of Christmas in our lives. And although no one can deny that Christmas is going to be quite different this year, perhaps it's good to consider why the topic It's Always Christmas was chosen. Before we really dive into the topic, we wanted to talk to you guys about this reflection that we found on a wonderful book that has not yet been translated into English, which narrates the story of Emiliano. Emiliano was someone who had a very different Christmas at that specific time of that year. And he was a man of a very strong personality. And deep down, he was very generous. He was sincere, but his notion about life and spirituality was a bit off. He was very materialistic. In vain, his friends and his family tried to renew his ideals about life, but he often found himself in denial about some of the eternal truths proposed by his friends, and the spiritual pressure all around him grew. It made it very difficult even to breathe. It was as if the atmosphere, the psychic atmosphere all around him was profoundly heavy, and it was hard to even contemplate life in a wholesome way. Although he had a very happy marriage, Emiliano was shaken to the core when his first child died. It was at that moment that a very kind priest gifted him with a book that would bring a bit of hope and joy and consolation into his life. That very initial contact with Jesus for the first time in his life was very significant and profound. He had never known that life could be filled with hope, with joy, with faith, even in the midst of so much pain and grief. He was amazed by the content of the gospel of Jesus. How, he would think, could I have missed out on so much blessings in the gospel in my life? For those around him, they were very happy for him. He became a faithful Catholic man. However, it wasn't long before his personality, that strong personality, took over him yet again. And he was so passionate about the ideas proposed by the church that instead of embracing them and disseminating them through actions and good deeds, he began attacking those who professed a different faith than his. He was very aggressive. He was very intense. And after receiving some enlightening clarifications regarding the blessed teachings of Christ and Catholicism, he felt deeply hurt and misunderstood by his peers. So he decided to seek and change his religion. His friend in his newfound religion were very happy to receive him, but then again, that very old man, the old strong personality, took over him yet again. And his friend in the newfound faith tried to assist him, tried to see that the religion that he was embracing in reality had to do with being in contact with Christ, the psychotherapist of the soul. He was becoming more and more aggressive regardless, and very rude in how he professed his faith. He was also very demanding that others thought or think the way that he did. And there were those who resonated with that attitude and applauded that strong hostility towards other faiths, but then there were other friends who, more enlightened than him regarding the spiritual life, regarding that new faith that he professed, tried in vain to warn him that he was to internalize the teachings of Christ, especially at Christmas time. It was all in vain, however, and after being extremely tired and even disappointed with the people that were around him in the newfound faith, decided to change religion yet again. It was then that he came in contact with Spiritism, the idea of communicability with the spirits, about the immortality, about reincarnation, and even the ideas about the law of cause and effect really touched him to the very core. And he was overcome with joy in being in contact with the new philosophy that brought about the aspect of religiousness in a whole new view. Yet, it didn't take long before the old man resurfaced yet again, and he started judging and attacking others. And instead of applying those blessed teachings contained in Spiritism in his own life, he started judging and attacking others. Whenever he received a message from benevolent spirits in the mediumistic meeting, he felt that he was privileged. He felt that he was superior and the only one worthy of such messages. And usually he would apply the teachings telling others what to do, as opposed to truly bringing the Christ within. Emiliano was forgetting, however, that many of the lessons contained in Spiritism. And because of that, he started to now face, or better yet, encounter some of the past issues in the previous existence in the presence of expiations. Very normal situation for all of us who live in a world of trials and expiations as we walk towards the planet of regeneration, the world of regeneration. Torment, challenges, obstacles of all sorts started making its way in Emiliano's life. At first, he was strong, he was resilient, but then he couldn't take in. He would often state that he was forgotten, that he was abandoned by the invisible friends who were ever so present in the beginning when he embraced Spiritism. And he also felt betrayed, not only by his friends at the Spiritist Center, but also by the benevolent mediums, those missionaries that were there to talk about the light, to talk about the consoling Christ. He felt that they all had an obligation to him. And because of that, he started to feel the pressure and the attacks of the low order spirits. And due to all of this, he became hurt. He felt disrespected, not only by his friends, but also by his own family members. Because of that hostility, it was natural that people just didn't want to be around him anymore. And so little by little, his friends began disappearing, distancing themselves. And in the midst of all that emotional and spiritual turmoil, his mother died. And he felt yet again the pain deep in his soul. After 3 years, his own wife, who was going through the painful process of spiritual expiation, also died due to an incurable illness, something that nobody really had an answer for. When his wife died, his 2 stepchildren, whom he had loved and had basically embraced as his own, turned their back on him, feeling that because of all his selfishness, he did not take care of their mother as he should have. Let's imagine this scenario. Given his own strong personality, after some time, he saw himself completely and utterly alone, and he felt hopeless. He was basically never seen at the Spiritist Center yet again, and his old friends would often see him walking the streets. That was very common to them, and he had a very gloomy and sad aspect on his face. They knew that something was wrong. It was one Christmas Eve, a year or so later, that he found himself walking those same streets alone, noticing the joy and the flickering lights all around him, families and friends embracing, songs of hope playing all around. He could not contain his tears. It was so painful that he felt the only solution was death. He walked to the beach, planning, thinking, feeding that sinister idea of suicide. And it was then, at that moment, that the sounds of the waves died, utter silence, and a voice that was loud, sweet, deep, started speaking within his soul. He thought of Jesus. How long had it been since he thought of Jesus, the incomparable master that had come to heal the sick, to make the blind see, the one who embraced the poor and those forgotten by society? Where was he? How long had it been since he felt the idea of Christ deep within? He could not stop sobbing. And then the voice spoke clearly. Emiliano, I have been hoping to meet you for so long. You, however, always try to find me through external factors, never looking inside of your own heart. Let me ease your pain. Lay your tired head on my shoulders, and yes, weep and cry. It seems that even after 2,000 years, my disciples still seek me only at the peak of their innermost pain and suffering. It is quite rare, Emiliano, that someone look for me when enveloped by the joys of life. Quite often, it is necessary that someone lose everything in order to find me in their own hearts. That is because I have a special sanctuary inside the hearts of men and women. Yet often they will fill this sanctuary with debris or build a wall around it, making it hard for my guidance and encouragement to reach it. Emiliano was at a loss for word. That voice that spoke deep inside his soul was the balm needed for his shattered heart. And then he heard the voice continue in stating, "Go back, Emiliano, to your duties and your responsibilities and be faithful. Never forget that I will be with you until the end of time." Do you really believe that I would abandon you at the time you needed me most? Have you forgotten that I came for those who weep, who suffer, who are in pain? Don't be so rebellious about life, the voice continued. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Pain at times is the chisel of purification. Don't ever stop loving, the voice continued. Remember that when you criticize your brother, it is I who you criticize, for my work has not yet been completed on the earth. Help me, Emiliano, by understanding the objective of your life, the frailties of your brothers and sisters. Forgive always. Go back and make an effort to govern your own vices. You will always be able to hear my voice while in the arena of service towards the good by looking inside yourself. Be of goodwill. Be faithful. Emiliano felt that his face was drenched in tears, but now they were no longer tears of despair. They were tears of hope. They were tears of joy. He recognized that his heart was a manger where Christ was finally born on that very special Christmas Eve, on that very special and different type of Christmas. It is interesting for us to consider this story from where we are today, because indeed this is a very different Christmas for all of us. What a year it has been. When we look at this image here, technology facilitating the connectedness between friends and family, we can't help but wonder about this time of the year. In the midst of a pandemic, we saw Pope Francis saying something quite deep last week. He said, "There is no pandemic, there is no crisis that can extinguish the light of Christmas." And with this statement and thinking about our current days, thinking about all that we are going through, all that we've been feeling, some lost in despair, some who have lost family members and loved ones, we perhaps may agree that Christmas will be appreciated in a different way should we really understand the meaning behind Christmas, which has nothing to do with the trees or the gifts. It has nothing to do with the commercialization of this very special date. It has to do with the birth of Christ. Not only at that time, over 2,000 years ago, but here in the modern days of society, where we are transitioning from a world of trials and expiations to a world of regeneration. Interestingly enough, we've been told that this year something quite rare is happening on December 21st. And it is something that we will be gifted with that has to do with something that is very symbolic. We are going to be receiving this year our own Star of Bethlehem. Let's think about this for a little bit. Although we know that this Star of Bethlehem on December 21st is a great conjunction of two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, it's going to create something quite similar that, according to astronomers, suggests the wise men may have seen in the biblical account on the birth of Jesus. We may agree that there couldn't be anything more symbolic and precious than these days of pandemic, because nowadays wise men and women still seek him, still look for him, still go after. And that bright light is the one thing that we look for. This is how we find that there is nothing that is going to be able to dim the light of Christ, the light of Christmas during the pandemic. When Christ was born, it was in a moment where people's hearts were filled with uncertainty. Their minds were darkened by fear, hatred, and other ill feelings. And although we find that current society may also be filled with beings whose hearts are filled with uncertainty, where their minds are also darkened by fear, be it of a virus that is shaking up the core of our planet, be it by other factors that may be shaking, causing turmoil, causing some type of despair inside their hearts, we find that pretty much it's somewhat the same situation. Sure, there have been technological advancements. Sure, the current times is quite different than when Christ was here physically in the planet. But we find that the issues of the heart still maintain, are still here. The book Wake Up and Be Happy, and also A Light in the Darkness, brings us a bit of a narration from Joanna de Ângelis that offers us a moment to reflect about Christmas in the midst of a pandemic. It was at a moment much like today that Christ was born, where it was society being lashed by the whip of suffering. As we may remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in order to comply with the census ordered by Caesar, Jesus' parents left Nazareth. And during a night, here's where Joanna de Ângelis tells us, during a night with turquoise-colored skies, dotted with luminous stars, and visited by a gentle breeze, he arrived on the battleground to mark the new age and divide history before and after him. His night became the day of eternal beauty, she would tell us. And the first cry, when the baby is born, that first cry, for Jesus, it was characterized as the music that would transform it into an incomparable symphony of the souls, in all the souls of all people. He was then, as he is today, the dawn of a new hope, the dawn of a new era. 2,000 years is really not long if we consider the timelessness, the immortality of our souls. From that moment on, from this day on, humanity will never be the same. The world of violence and crime, of continuous warfare, of aggression, got to know something quite different, represented by the ideal of non-violence and a love that had never been seen or felt before. Joanna de Ângelis would say Jesus became the peacemaker of every life. He descended from the highest sphere to become what you will call the bridge to God. Our Father, which art in heaven, was the prayer that was taught, showing us the ability to connect directly with the Creator. Today, more than ever, it is necessary for us to cross the bridge so that we don't become tired in the waters that are agitated, the waters that are filled with huge waves that tires the soul. It is necessary that we cross that bridge available to find the religiousness that Emiliano was looking for, yet never found, for he never truly understood the message. Anyone who wishes for happiness from that moment when he was born would find it in the Sermon of the Mount, which he would present at a moment where people were ready to receive it. Gandhi has been told, we have been told that Gandhi would take the Sermon of the Mount and meditate on it each day for 2 hours, reading it. And he would state to us, Christians shouldn't just say, Lord, Lord. They should do what Christ says in order to be called Christian. And here we are, Spiritist Christians. His time on the earth exceeded all of the expectations. We know this because he created the era of what would be called the era of tenderness, of trust, of happiness, crowned with peace. Yet he would make the differentiation between the peace of the world and the peace that he would leave with us, something quite different. The idea of happiness is something quite different. The idea of healing, something quite different. And so he sowed compassion and mercy in a hardened world, in the hardened hearts, creating a culture of total solidarity and transcendental joy. He easily intermingled, joined in the masses, speaking the language of the needs and dreams and the expectation and of peace. And when the Conscious Living Spiritist group suggests the topic, it is always Christmas, we consider this teaching of speaking the language of those who are in need, of those who are in need of dreams, of those who are in need of the expectation of feeling the peace. And we are invited to go out into the masses. Of course, this is a symbolic statement, but to be able to disseminate hope, to be able to disseminate a message that is quite different from that which is creating inquietude, that is creating something that is agitating the hearts and the minds. The true Christian Spiritists understand that there is a message that can be carried out that will lift people's hearts, that will lift people's moods, that will open their hearts to the idea of the immortality of the soul. We find that although we may be feeling pain and may be hurt, that we may be feeling some of the natural anxiety that comes with the type of crisis that we are facing, we are also certain of all the teachings, of all the testimonials, of all the proofs that life is quite different when we raise ourselves above materialistic aspects of living. And so he descended from the celestial heights, and instead of becoming less by coming in contact with those who agonized and who always understood him, he surrounded them with harmony. Joanna de Ângelis will say that he completed the program that he had designed for his ministry. And at the exact time, he was betrayed, he was denied, and cowardly killed. Yet, even then, he continued to sow the certainty regarding immortality, confirming his previous teachings. And one of the things is that he did everything he taught. He walked the talk. It wasn't just simply do as I say. It was do as I do. Showing us living in the same condition of those around him. He offered the idea of love. In his presence as model and guide for humanity, as presented in the Spirit's book by the benevolent Spirit, he became the one that we can and must follow, that we can and must try to apply his teachings. For he stated, you can do all that I can and much more, showing us the infinite path of spiritual progress ahead of us, something that is beautiful, that is bright, that is wholesome. And one of the things that we can do in showing that it is always Christmas, that it is always Christ, is trying to become those who echo the teachings through our good deeds and efforts to try to become an example in society. And I say making an effort because we realize that although we are still far from being truly, truly pure, we've reincarnated for something. There is an objective behind each reincarnation, mine and yours. There is something profound and deep. The high order spirit's main concern and preoccupation is that we succeed. And in that note, we find that we are not alone. We find that his missionaries come and try to warn us, and try to encourage, and try to tell us about this love that is all around us. There is something quite special that happens during the month of December that I truly, truly hope is happening even in the midst of a pandemic, where you and I can contribute towards. The benevolent spirits in the book No Solar, psychographed by Francisco Cândido Xavier, brought on by the spirit Andrew Lewis, tell us that the psychosphere of our planet changes during Christmas time. It is because we emanate something that is different from the rest of the year. But what if we could do this all year long? What if we could take it inside of us, the idea that we hold in our hands the key to happiness, which has to do with feeling, thinking, putting into practice love? We would consider that there is no reason to dim the light of Christmas during the pandemic, during a crisis, but rather to shine as bright as possible so that others who are lost in darkness can see what we can see. Humanity agonizes yet again. We find that happening, yet symbolically he is extending the hands of charity and his sublime words recommending the practice of love. Joanna de Ângelis will say, he crossed the centuries being loved and being hated, seen as someone who was dominant and as someone who was dominated, depending on the passions of those who appropriated his message, and returned in all his purity through Spiritism, proclaiming peace and forgiveness as powerful resources to promote the planet to a world of regeneration. Are we going to be the ones who are distributing a message of forgiveness and peace? Or will we be the ones following the great masses who are actually disseminating despair and hatred, indecision and doubt? Which type of disciple will we be? Because according to Joanna de Ângelis, because it's a different type of Christmas that we have here, and this is me saying, it is necessary, according to Joanna de Ângelis, that we offer a space for him to be born in the manger of our own hearts. We find that many people are not offering that space, not even mentally, not even in the heart, not even that. And while we see that there is a virus that is holding us back from being with those that we love, Marcelo and I here, unable to be with our parents who are in Brazil, feeling also the pain of being alone, we find that the virus, the COVID, will pass, as many other type of trials that has assailed our planets have passed. And we are able to look in history and see what we were able to grasp from it. At the time of pandemic, when it passes, one of the hopes that we can have is that the lesson that is offering us right now does not pass, does not go by unnoticed. That we need to be more connected with those immediately placed beside us during the reincarnation. During the pandemic, there was a rise of issues in the domestic place. There were aggressions and violence. Parents started seeing their kids for the very first time. So there is something very profound where it's as if Christ is calling us back during Christmas time to go back into the temple and think about his teachings. Like Emiliano was at the beach, we can hear the voices echoing, stating, I will be with you until the end of time. But there is another virus that must be combated, which is the virus of racial, sexual orientation, ethnic or religious type of prejudice. The virus of discord, of dissension, of impatience, of intolerance that is taking hold of our planet right now. Perhaps the way to be vaccinated, there is a vaccine that is available to anyone. It doesn't matter our age. It doesn't matter where we are. To try to contain this other virus that is resisting through the times is to observe and to try to put into practice the greatest commandment that he taught the doctor of the law. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second, it is like, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is something that we need to observe. By showing kindness, by showing compassion, by showing patience, and even forgiveness. In this sense, we find that Christmas is no longer celebrated one time of the year. It is a daily commitment to celebrate the presence of Christ every single day of our lives, even and especially during the turmoil and challenges that we face today, because we become the voice of Christ for others to hear. Joanna de Ângelis will say, it's Christmas every day. So in this very special, unique Christmas, let Jesus' love fill our hearts, which in turn we can pour onwards in the direction of those who are suffering, our brothers and sisters in humanity. She will say, let us hold hands and unite our hearts to celebrate his nativity every day of the year, pouring blessings on behalf of those who suffer, seeking to alleviate their afflictions, bringing hope, help, and peace, and in return, being that balm that will alleviate our own afflictions, bringing hope, help, and peace. There is enough disturbances happening in the world today. There is a lot of noise happening in the world today. Perhaps this Christmas is for us to go back inside and in the silence of our souls, try to hear the echoes from the higher spheres of life. And we can do even more. We can let him be reborn in our soul and give him shelter so that he may remain in us and with us at all time of the year. Joanna de Ângelis will say, in a darkened light, think about Jesus and his life and bring him to live in your home in your everyday life. Let him inhabit your emotions and thoughts. Get familiar with his teachings, incorporating them into your behavior. When you are in doubt, ask him for the best solution. What would he do in your place? Connected to him, living with him, you will learn to be patient and to be at peace, becoming a gospel of deeds. Read his teachings, get the book, drench yourself in them. You will understand the reason for living, and you will walk the path that leads to safety. Do not do it just this Christmas, under the influence of the energy of the Holy Night, that energy that we talked about, the psychosphere of our planet. But do anything you can for anyone that crosses your path, and you will be personally celebrating with him, building the happy world of tomorrow. She goes on to say, never forget him, whatever your situation. Sorry about that, it cut here for me. In mental communion with him, your doubts will be dispelled, your worries will subside, and you will be transformed, becoming the focus of dignified action that will attract the restless and the afflicted, who will get to know him as well. At that moment, it will be Christmas for them, for Jesus will have been born or reborn in their inner landscapes. It's Christmas every day. It is something that we need to think and consider. During this time of crisis and pandemic, we are called to be the soldiers in the good battle, disseminating love. We will no longer have arms or weapons. Better, we will be disseminating with our hands love in action. How do we do that? How can we do that? Well, according to Karen Armstrong, it is necessary that we dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and place someone else there. And there are so many people that are in need of a friendly word, of being seen, of receiving a message that will bring inside their hearts that which they have been missing. Each one of us can be a candle in a dark and light night. We can light up the space all around us. We have the ability to do that. Christ has shown us the way. On that note, it is Christmas every day. It is always Christmas. We leave you guys a message reminding everyone of the scene, of that scenario, of that beautiful moment where Christ was born in a humble manger, as if telling us that humility was the key to develop all of the virtues necessary for our spiritual progress. On that note, let us keep Christ alive in our hearts. It is always Christmas. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace, goodwill toward men. We wish you, dear friends, the happiest Christmas this time of the year. Happy because we are blessed for having the governor of our planet looking after each and every one of us. It is necessary that we offer our hearts as that humble manger for Christ to be born every single day of our lives. Thank you so much for your attention, for being with us, for your presence so special and unique. Each and everyone connected at this time truly have something that can be offered that is good, that is wholesome, and that is blessed. Thank you so much, and have a very, very, very blessed Christmas season.
Immensely touched by the message that Andreia brought to us. I would like to thank you, each and every one of you that joined us in this morning, reflecting the message that she brought and put it together so we can understand that there is only one way to achieve this true happiness, The world outside, it's full of technological advancements. That's true, that's true. This is really important. But there's one advancement and there's one step, final step that we need to achieve, which is the establishment of this bridge that connects the heart with the mind. So one day, with just two wings, we can achieve higher flies, to soar high, and to say again, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men. I would like to invite Andreia to conduct the final prayer to this meeting, our last English meeting and the Sundays of the year. And don't forget, on December 22nd at 7:30 p.m., we will join again, inviting every worker and everyone who attends Conscious Living to join us in this meeting that we're going to say, to discuss the future of the work. The meeting will be conducted in English, and forgive us for the Portuguese friends that doesn't speak English, but that's what we would like to say. On that note, I'll leave it to Andreia to conduct our final prayer and to say goodbye and Merry Christmas to all of you. God bless you all. From the depth of our hearts, God bless you all.
So before I do the prayer, I just wanted to share with you guys the information of the end of year Conscious Living meeting. It's going to be via Zoom. So if you want to write down the information, we'll be sure to post it online as well. And again, you're all invited. And although it's going to be in English so that we can truly unite all of the hearts, if there are any issues, we will be sure to be translating it. So make sure you tell your friends about this. And let us do our prayer, reminding you guys that we are always here. And although we will be returning on January 3rd, if you need, reach out. All of us are here. Susanna, Marcelo, Abigail, all of us are here. If you need us for anything.
And you too.
And me too. Always, always, always. So let us continue feeling this love that is enveloping us at this time. Feeling the wholesome touch of the benevolent spirits who have been assigned to take care of us since before we dove into the flesh and reincarnated. And let us elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus, simply saying, thank you. Thank you for being with us, for having chosen us to be in this planet under your guidance, under your governance. We are so touched by the love that is extended from you through the wholesome touch of the missionaries, of the benevolent spirits that are with us always, guiding and encouraging us. We know that we are not alone. We know that although it might seem that it's still dark outside, we see the rays of the sun peeking in, announcing the dawn of a new era, announcing a new stage, a new phase that our planet is embarking into. And how wonderful that we are part of this. Help us, dear Jesus, so that we can be those who inherit the earth, who are going to be part of this place where peace and harmony reigns more than that which we see in the world of trials and expiations. Help us so that we too can complete our task on this earth. And thank you for coming and showing us how to get there. Bless our friends and families near and far, and keep us connected through the links that unite us, the links of fraternity and solidarity, and remind us to be the peacemakers on earth, on Christmas and every day of the year. Thank you so much, and so be it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Receive our warm embrace and wishes for a Merry Christmas and a very, very happy New Year. Much peace to all.
Much peace to all.